Welcome to the OneFix YouTube channel. I'm Craig, the Managing Director, and all I can say is like and subscribe because we're going to have some great content coming on how to do things, hints and tips on your PCs, behind the scenes footage, and loads more. So yep, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and hit the bell. Hi everybody, Craig from OneFix here. Today I'm going to talk to you about email security and things that you can do to protect your company and your inboxes. As of the 2022 cybersecurity survey, almost 40% of businesses suffered a cyber attack in 2022, and about 83% of those were phishing. So phishing is by far the most common method that people break into company email accounts, break into your environment and steal your money, essentially. So there's a few things that can be done to protect this, and we recommend taking all three of these steps to secure your business. So step one is MFA, enabling MFA, which is multi-factor authentication. So the first thing is, what is MFA? So MFA, as I say, stands for multi-factor authentication, and what that means is when you go to log into something like your email account, rather than just having a username and a password to secure your account, you actually have a second form of authentication. In most cases, that can be an application on your phone that will provide a number that you will then type in to authenticate, or it may be a pop-up that comes up on your phone that you have to click and say, yes, this is me. Most people use online banking, and obviously if you're familiar with online banking, then you'll already be familiar with MFA because online banks have been doing this for some time. Again, they started off by doing it with kind of little handheld token things, and then they went to sending text messages, and now they moved on to app-based security. It's actually going to be a requirement of Cyber Essentials from 2023 onwards that all accounts have MFA enabled for cloud services. So regardless of if they are an administrator account or a user account, enabling MFA is super important. It's something that's reasonably easy to set up, but it can be a little bit, a bit of a friction with users because they have to understand how to approve and log their accounts in. So this is something that we can help out with as kind of part of the service that we do in terms of training the users on how they can use MFA and what they need to do. So it's either something that you can turn on as a company and you can manage that yourselves, or we can help you with that. The second thing to think about is conditional access. Conditional access is the next step on really from MFA. It's something that's specifically part of Microsoft 365, which is what we provide for the vast majority of our clients that work with us. What conditional access allows you to do is to set conditions as to how people can access your account. So in simple terms, that might be the fact that you set some rules that say that when anybody's coming from your office, which is determined by the IP address, basically where you are on the internet, maybe they don't need to use MFA at that point because they're trusted because they're coming from the office. Whereas if they're trying to log in from Spain or Africa or somewhere else in the world that you don't trust, you can either have that create more kind of pop-ups to create more authentication, or you can actually block it outright. So typically with conditional access, the most secure method of using that will be to restrict access to the countries that you know you work in and you know that your staff work in, block all other countries from accessing. And then the only thing that has to be done then is if somebody does, say, travel on holiday and they do need to get to their email, it's a simple rule addition to make sure that they can then access their emails from abroad whilst they're away, and then that can be revoked again when they return. So by limiting where people can access your actual account, that makes it much, much more secure. So that's kind of the great second step. And then the third layer that we recommend, kind of two technologies together, DKIM and DMARC. That's DKIM and DMARC. Without getting too techie, because these are quite techie things, they are basically both ways of setting up rules and conditions that mean that your email is much, much harder to spoof. Now, spoofing is where an attacker will craft an email and it will look like it's come from your company domain. So for us, we are one-fix.com. That would mean if somebody wants to spoof us, they would send an email out and it would look exactly like it's come from us, from one-fix.com. And what DKIM and DMARC do alongside some other technologies is that they basically define who's allowed to send emails from that domain and where they should come from. So what that means is that when it's set up properly, the system knows that any email that's sent from onefix.com should come from one of the systems that we use, like Microsoft 365 or our website or one of the email engines that we use. So if someone, from abroad who's breaking into the account or trying to send fake emails to our customers, if they try and send something that comes from us, those technologies will basically help to flag the email as suspicious, and they also tell the receiver what they should do with that email. So that's what DMARC does. It basically sets rules that say, if I send you an email and it's not from one of the places that I trust, you should delete it. Your system should delete it, or your system should put it in quarantine, or actually you can allow that. That's okay. So by setting these things up, you make your email much more secure in terms of being able to break into it, and much harder to spoof. So you're going to be less likely to be a victim of people impersonating you and then tricking customers into, say, sending money to fraudulent bank accounts. So those are the 3 things you need to get set up. That's MFA, Conditional Access, and DKIM and DMARC.